and gentlemen, I'm Tamanna, and it gives me a great pleasure to welcome you all to the promo release of the first ever kind of e-learning website designed exclusively for homeopathic medical students. I, on behalf of my entire team, thank the management committee, principals, staffs, and all students for giving us this opportunity to present this program. E-learning, as we all know, is the use of electronic media and information and communication technologies in education. Here we shall be using animations, videos, audios, text, and images to make the learning not only easy and effective but interesting too. As far as homeopathy is concerned, for competing in the race against the modern system, most of us has left far behind our theories and principles, on the basis of which the entire system was once built. Somehow, most of us has got diverted from their path and are into patent practice either to earn their bread and butter or to fill their own pockets. With this initiative, we are making an attempt to excavate the buried theories and principles to bring back the era of classical homeopathy. So, welcome once again to the world of e-learning, a place where learning is not just made easy, but we make you realize the fun in learning. Here we shall take you through a journey to help you learn and understand the basics in a very innovative and interesting way. Our aim here is not to point out who is right or who is wrong, but to make sure you understand the basics so that you can decide for yourself as to what is right and what is wrong. So let's get started. To begin with, let us explain briefly what exactly we have in this package, why we have started this initiative, and what exactly is our aim. We shall listen from Dr. Akshata, who shall be explaining us about our aim with this initiative. Right, so how many of you are convinced to at least try this out? Well, there are times when we feel very sad and depressed, and during such times, if somebody is there to keep us motivated, it gives great boost to our confidence. So, let's watch a motivational video by Himesh Madan.
रिसेंटली मैंने सोनू निगम का एक इंटरव्यू पढ़ा जिसमें उन्होंने बताया कि जब वो 18 साल के थे वो अपने फादर के साथ दिल्ली से मुंबई आए स्ट्रगल करने के लिए। उस टाइम पे उनके फादर ने उनको दो लाइंस बोली जो मैं आपके साथ जरूर शेयर करनी चाहूंगा। उन्होंने कहा, आइदर यू स्ट्रगल नाउ एंड लिव अ कंफर्टेबल लाइफ लेटर और यू कैन एंजॉय नाउ एंड स्ट्रगल लेटर। या तो अभी स्ट्रगल कर लो और बाद में कंफर्टेबल लाइफ जीना, या फिर अभी एंजॉय कर लो और बाद में स्ट्रगल करना। वही सोनू निगम जो जागरण और शादी में 100 रुपए लेते थे गाने के लिए, वो स्ट्रगल के बाद आज इंडिया के फेवरेट और लीडिंग सिंगर हैं। सो ये मेरा मैसेज यूथ के लिए है कि आपकी आज की हुई स्ट्रगल आपका फ्यूचर डिसाइड करेगी। आपकी यही आज की स्ट्रगल आपकी फाउंडेशन बनाएगी जिसके साथ आपका बेस स्ट्रांग होगा। यही स्ट्रगल आपका कैरेक्टर बनाएगी जिसकी वजह से लोग आपकी इज्जत करेंगे, लोग आपको जानेंगे। यही स्ट्रगल आपकी स्ट्रेंथ बनेगी जिसकी वजह से आप लाइफ के चैलेंजेस से डरोगे नहीं बल्कि स्ट्रांगली फेस कर पाओगे। सो चाहे आप आईआईटी, पीएमटी, कैट या आईएएस के एग्जाम की तैयारी कर रहे हो, या फिर सिंगिंग के लिए हर रोज रियाज कर रहे हो, या फिर अपना बिजनेस, अपना वेंचर सेट करने के लिए हर रोज एफर्ट्स डाल रहे हो, स्ट्रगल नाउ एंड लिव अ कंफर्टेबल लाइफ लेटर। ऑल द बेस्ट।
Indeed, very motivating, isn't it? Although we shall be bringing you such motivational videos every now and then, those who want to watch more can always visit www.himesh.com. We got a plenty of inspiration and motivation to keep our project going from the same side. Right now, let's move on further. We have shown you a little while ago as to what we aim at with this project, and in order to understand as to how we are going to achieve our aim, it's essential for us to make you understand what we have in store for you in the coming months through our site. To explain the contents of this package, we shall once again go to Dr. Akshata. How many of us enjoy watching movies? Most of us do, don't we? At times, even we get to learn a plenty of things from the movies that we watch. Let me invite you all to watch a clip from a Malayalam movie. Hey, I do know that all of us don't understand the language, so we have added subtitles in English for those who don't understand.
We can talk to Gemma Hofkins, who's a registered homeopath from Birmingham. She started practicing after she claims another homeopath cured her of cancer. Thank you for joining us. Just tell us then, first of all, about your experience of homeopathy when you were suffering from cancer.
Hi, well, in a nutshell, I had brain tumours and tumours that went down my spine, and I had all the conventional medicine, chemotherapy and radiotherapy, and I had a really bad reaction. All my hair fell out in one weekend. I put on 4 stone in 4 weeks, and the tumours, because they were in my head, affected my eyesight. I could literally see about that far, and it was double vision and fuzzy. So after they did the treatment, their words were that our treatment is making you worse. Would you like to stay in hospital? Would you like to go home, or would you like to go to a hospice? Well, I didn't want to go to hospice, and I didn't want to stay in the hospital, so I went home and I heard about a homeopath who was actually just treating me just before then to help me with the side effects of the chemotherapy. And I stayed with her, and what else would you do? You were told nothing else. On my medical notes it says there's nothing viable for Gemma now. That's it. There's nothing more we can do. So you go to something else, don't you? So luckily homeopathy came up for me, and that's what helped me.
The MPs are today saying that there is no evidence that homeopathy works beyond a placebo effect. What do you say to that?
Well, I think that's a lot of rubbish. It worked for me, and it will work for lots of other people. There's 2,000 years of evidence and proof about homeopathy. I mean, I could go on for a long time explaining all of that. If you look on my website, there's lots of information on there, and then that will take you further to other information.
Well, one of the concerns that the MPs have voiced is that they fear that if people sort of turn to homeopathy, they might actually not look to conventional treatments that might be more proven to actually work in their case. I mean, obviously you turn to homeopathy as a last resort, but do you think that there might be an issue that people might hear a story like yours and think, OK, I will go down the homeopathic route to cure my cancer rather than other methods that do have scientific evidence to back them up?
I think it's a patient's choice, and they should be informed. It's an informed choice to their health care.
What about, though, whether the NHS should actually be paying for it? £4 million a year being spent on this.
Well, at the moment, I think it's 8 billion is being spent on current NHS spending. It would be a lot cheaper if you spent it on homeopathic medicine.
Have you come across any other case studies like yours? I mean, the MPs are concerned about lack of scientific evidence to back up whether homeopathy works or not.
There's lots of evidence, as I said.
Have you come across other people like you, though, who have been cured of something as catastrophic as you were suffering from through homeopathy?
Well, homeopathy is about... you can't say that... homeopathy looks at the symptoms, not just a diagnosis. So if 3 people came to me with the same symptoms, let's say hay fever, each patient will probably get a different remedy from a homeopath, because you're looking at their individual medical history and their family's medical history and whom they are as a person. So it's not about there's a remedy for that disease or that medical condition.
So it's a sort of very inexact science, and that's exactly what the MPs are worried about. They point out that any new drugs that are funded now by the NHS do have to be proven by scientific evidence to actually work.
The scientists haven't looked at all the evidence, I'm afraid, and it's just because it's not in their in their methodology doesn't mean it's not. It works. I mean, there's 6 million people in the UK using homeopathy. We're way behind Europe. in Spain, France, Germany, it's commonly used. In India, it's the first choice of medication.
Do you believe
Are
that
all those people incorrect?
Yeah, no, I mean, do you believe that there is an element, though, of if someone believes it will work, it does actually work?
Well, it works very well with children and with pets, so I don't think that's the case, no.
OK, it's really interesting to talk to you. Gemma Hovkins, thank you very much, and we'll be discussing this more, actually, at
You're very welcome.
8:30 with a couple of guests on each side of the argument on that one.
Very much inspiring, isn't it? Now, some of us may argue that such miracles can only happen in movies. Well, to remove their doubts, we shall listen from those who have experienced these miracles in real life.
I actually had no interest in homeopathy at all. I'm not sure I'd ever heard of it. I was just a rugby-playing cow vet on the edge of Exmoor. And I had suffered all my life from hay fever. And it was a sort of hay fever where your eyes were so itchy you just want to claw them out. And I was taking antihistamines for that for years and years and years. And I went camping in June and I forgot to take my antihistamines. And I was in a horrible mess. And maybe the luckiest thing that's ever happened to me in my life, 5 tents away, there was a woman who was a homeopath. So I was encouraged to go up to see her, and she asked me for about 20 minutes totally irrelevant questions that, as far as I could understand, had nothing to do with hay fever. And at the end of that time, she gave me 1 pill. And I said, okay, thank you. How many do I take a day? How many days do I take them for? She said, no, you just take the 1 pill. And I think I was a bit arrogant, or she told me I was afterwards, because I insisted I had to have more pills than that. She said, just take the 1. You might be an expert vet, but I'm an expert homeopath. So I took the pill. It was called Euphrasia. And to my astonishment, after an hour, my hay fever was 90% better. And in fact, from that day in 1995, I have not taken another antihistamine. Now, for me, this was impossible. This went against everything that I'd been taught at Cambridge for 6 years. I couldn't understand how this could happen, but it had happened. And so I had to explore this. I had to go and find out how this worked. And now I have a homeopathy-only practice, and the only thing I do is give nutritional advice and give homeopathy. I continue to use homeopathy for 3 reasons, really. One is because I absolutely love it. It's taught me so many things I've never learned anywhere else. I'm not just reading veterinary manuals, I'm reading philosophy, I'm reading quantum physics, and particularly I'm reading about nature and the natural world, because that's where all the remedies come from. And to really understand the remedy, you need to understand its position and how it functions in the natural world. And this has reconnected me to my earliest love, because the reason I became a vet is I decided when I was 4 because of a love of nature and a love of animals. And that sort of got lost in the teaching and the studying and the learning you have to do to become a vet. I also keep doing it because it's very important, because it works, but it works by a way that we don't as yet understand. There's many theories, but we don't understand how it works. But it's a deep and it's a powerful mechanism of healing. And finally, I keep doing it because of the patients. To be able to treat an unhappy dog or a depressed horse or an aggressive cow with maybe an unpleasant physical ailment, and you give it something, and over the period of days to weeks to maybe to a month, you see it get better. There's no better, there's nothing I'd rather do.
Right then, have you noticed something very strange in the second video that you have just watched? Let's hear it again.
She asked me for about 20 minutes totally irrelevant questions that, as far as I could understand, had nothing to do with hay fever. She asked me for about 20 minutes totally irrelevant questions that, as far as I could understand, had nothing to do with hay fever. She asked me for about 20 minutes totally irrelevant questions that, as far as I could understand, had nothing to do with hay fever.
what sense it makes by asking irrelevant questions, and that too not just one or two, but for 20 minutes. Well, if you want to find out the answer to that, first you should understand how our medicines work. That is, the modus operandi. We have come up with yet another theory to explain as to how our medicines act, which we shall be explaining in our package. But in this preview, we shall discuss on what the current beliefs are with respect to the modus operandi and what they fail to explain. So, it's once again Dr. Akshata who shall be exploring the various theories that exist till date on the modus operandi of homeopathic medicines. As a student, right from the first year till we reach the final year, we get a chance to attend plenty of seminars. But how many of those are really productive? We often hear the speakers in such seminars sharing their clinical experiences. They tend to teach you which are the remedies to be given for asthma, hypertension, diabetes, arthritis, piles, etc., based on few so-called improvements that they observed in few of their patients, on which such combinations were tried. Do they ever tell you as to how that case was taken? How the symptoms were evaluated? How the totality was constructed? How the repertorization was done? And finally, how the remedy was selected? If they don't dare to ask the same, we give results not by chance, but with proper application of what we have studied. So, let's listen. A partial conversation between a homeopath and his patient in this preview. In our project, you shall listen to the entire conversation and also we shall explain you how the case was analyzed and the remedy selected step by step. We shall also be bringing to you several such cases. We, as homeopaths, very well understand the importance of mental symptoms, but usually it is believed that people find it difficult to trace the mental symptoms in clinical practice. Probably the reason for that is that we have not understood the meanings of most of the rubrics related to mind. It's essential for us to understand the meanings of rubrics to use them properly in our clinical practice. So let's try to understand from Dr. Priya the meanings of some of the rubrics from the Mind chapter of Kent's Repertory.